In fact, guys, pull this up because I'm going to play a little bit of his call. It's on my Alex Jones YouTube channel. It says, Iraq vet says Austin police training to set up checkpoints. It's even worse than that. Go door to door and basically confiscate guns. I want to play a short clip of that when we come back because people were in those comments, about a third of them, saying he was a liar. And that it wasn't true. In fact, I'm going to get into this right now. Here is the Fort Hood Sentinel. Here is the Fort Hood Sentinel, biggest military base in the world, about 45 miles north of Austin, northwest of Austin. And who did the caller say was there? The head of the Austin SWAT team and someone with their intelligence group. What does this article say? It says the head of the SWAT team and the head of intelligence, along with city officials and judges, are being trained, and this is even a cover story, but it's still bad, at the base. And then as a footnote, they say that the SWAT team commander and others had just returned from Iraq. I had a unique perspective because I recently had gone to Iraq to evaluate law enforcement over there. I was lucky enough to be able to volunteer and assist with the 3rd ACR training. We had the caller. They were running real checkpoints. They call that training and searching people and going door-to-door gun confiscation drills. We're showing the soldiers urban law enforcement so they can go and train the Iraqi police. They always spin that. No, they were being trained. And he goes on to admit that. He goes, actually, we were being trained. Listen to this. The Army obviously doesn't need any instructions from us on how to shoot and engage in combat because they are the best in the world at doing that. But having to go in with a softer approach and more of law enforcement type approach, now that is maybe something we can show them. Reflecting on the training, Denton added, the training was symbolic. We're APD probably learned more than we were taught to a man. All of these 3rd ACR soldiers have been motivated, energetic, and bright. So the caller, exactly what he told us is what is in this article. So there you have it. And of course, this is just an isolated incident. You've got the Marines and the Army and Homeland Security and the National Guard in Tennessee last year. It's in Police 84, the rise of FEMA. We had a state rep on. The governor says, you're shutting down highways and the Army searching people. Don't do that. And they said, we're going to do it anyways. Same thing in California with the Marines at drunk driving checkpoints with guns. Same thing when I've been in New York and 100 yards away, troops run over wearing 45s screaming, don't videotape me, you bleeping scum. That's an endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. They are just openly integrating it. And then you get the MIAC and Homeland Security reports that law enforcement gave us. Who were they training for? Even with the Explorer Scouts, to take on disgruntled veterans, gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, in the fetters, get us out of the UNers and birthers. Let's go ahead and jam in another call here. Let's talk to Mike in Texas. Mike, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex. My name's Mike. I'm stationed here at Fort Hood. I'm originally from Dallas. What I'm about to tell you might hit home, so I'm sorry to do so. You might already know about it, but if you do, this might verify. I just got back from a tour in Iraq a few months ago, and what I did there was a security escort gunner. And the best way to describe that would be the opening scene of Iron Man, the people taking Tony Stark around. That's what we did. Of course, none of the civilians were near as cool, so it was a little bit difficult. Most of them are doctors of agriculture and doctors of science. We transport them all around. But the most interesting thing, and of course I have stories about that, but for another time, it's a little bit lengthy. But most importantly, one day we had one of our mission briefings in the very early morning. We had 2 guys come out in green jumpsuits. And they looked like our mechanics jumpsuits, but and they were wearing our gear as far as bulletproof vests go and IBAs and IOTVs. And I saw on their patch on their shoulder, they didn't have American flags, but they had Austin SWAT patches.
From Austin, Texas.
Yes, from Austin, Texas. Now these are veterans, not veterans of our war, but veterans of Austin, Texas SWAT team.
That's right.
It turns out what they were doing there was training to learn how we set up our military police checkpoints and how we do raids on houses.
Stay there. This is key info. Stay with us. All right. So then we came back and got more intel from him. And literally, people were in the comments saying it wasn't real. Well, here's the Fort Hood Sentinel. And you can type in police train with the military in Iraq and find hundreds of police departments doing this. And what are they training for? Shutting down whole highways, searching everyone. and going door to door for gun confiscation. Now, that is what they're training for. The headline is, Brave Rifles Train with APD. The number one threat to a free society, if you've studied history, whether it was Rome 2,060-something years ago with Julius Caesar, or whether it's Venezuela, or whether it's Nigeria, or whether it was Nazi Germany, is powerful forces using the military to overthrow the country under the guise of fighting a crisis. Remember what Smedley Butler, two-time Congressional Medal of Honor winner, he was in line to be the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And they asked him, they said, we want to make you the Commandant. We want you to lead the Marine Corps, because he'd used the Marine Corps himself in more than 11 nations to overthrow countries for the robber barons that were running our country. He wrote the book, War is a Racket. They brought him into meetings with George Herbert Walker Bush's father, Prescott Bush, and the Harrimans and others. And they said, we're going to overthrow America and have martial law. And he went and blew the whistle to Congress, and they had the McCormick-Dickstein Committee hearings. And we have clips of that in my film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. But that's the issue. And he played along with it, got the intel, and stopped it. Now, that was a full frontal assault takeover plan. And it was so embarrassing, they didn't prosecute Prescott Bush and others. They just dropped it. Now, this has been a long, at least 30-year program. This has been going on since the 80s. To integrate the military and police, and militarize police, kill people, and break things. That's their job. That's their training. And if you've studied history and have common sense, there's no doubt they are brainwashing our military, our police. They're integrating them. They're now saying they're going to use them domestically to fight crime and to do gun confiscations in Illinois. That's Chicago Tribune. The mayor of Schenectady, New York's calling for martial law. There, troops are at all these different high visibility events, all to acclimate the population. And in a few minutes, I'm going to play a Stuart Rhodes clip that is so vitally important, where he, as the founder and head of Oath Keepers, talks about why they're being demonized by the ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, and the mainstream media, why what they're doing is so important. And this is a message to all police, all military. You're trained and compartmentalized that you're doing a good job, that you're given false reasons. I mean, military, police. Remember 10 years ago why you were told all this training was going on? That you were told it was for overseas. Now they're telling you it's for domestic. I told you it was for domestic. We got the Army documents. That's in my film, Police State to the Takeover, that it is for a domestic takeover, and it is targeted at the American people. It has nothing to do with Hajis, as they're called, in the Pentagon. Kind of a racial slang they use that I find offensive, and I know many others do.